Here we see in 1996, I put up a sign in Orlando, Florida, 441. From that sign began an experience. The sign went up over a Checkers. From that time on, things started to manifest. For instance, the Checkers, the sign showing a pyramid. Checkers itself was played during the time of pyramid building. Now, being over the Checkers wasn't purposely put there. It was after the fact. As time went on, when I noticed the houses, like the Orion, speed up to 2022. All things that happen in between. I've noticed that in Orlando, there's an area called Kings Point. Kings Point Parkway, and there's another place called Kings Point Boulevard. Now, Kings Point Parkway was placed in between a layout of a pyramid that I said existed, so the energy still existed. Area called Scenic Road in Southwest Orlando, Currency Drive, Scenic Road, Scenic Road and International Drive, and Tropical Trail or Red Bark, and I-4, which created a triangle positioned by these billboard signs. That went away, but what came about was the center of that layout was a street or place called Kings Point Parkway. And when you see the layout at King Point Parkway, center of this layout, it became what is Uraeus, as you see now. You see it says Crown Point. It's Crown Point itself with the Uraeus. So then after that, you see that there's another Kings Point. And this Kings Point is more personal, just as much as that was personal too, because inside that triangle my mother lived. Or she lives there now. Her house is there, right above the head of the Uraeus that I colored in to make it more obvious. Below this Uraeus is the universal epic universe that's being built after I spoke to them about this or sent them something about this layout back in 2011 about Orlando being the dollar bill. So this here showing you this connection. Now going to the Kings Point Boulevard, that's where my father lived until he passed away on April 8th, King Charles. Now I've noticed that there was a connection back in 2014 between the Kings Point Boulevard and the Kings Point Parkway. And you can see the three-pointed crown. Now I knew that King Charles, based on history, was actually King Charles that in New York, because I'm originally from New York, that actually transferred New Amsterdam to New York, becoming New York, which that brought me back to the early days as far as me living in New York and where I had my experiences at before all this began. But being that he passed away in April 8th, I knew there was a reason why I ended up at the house taking care of things while the rest of my family, my sisters, were out of state. I'm the only one here. I told him that when he moved here, when I saw the layout, that there was a connection between where he lived and how he ended up here, and what I was experiencing and what I told him was going on. Remember, checker pieces, or crowns. Now, because I was talking about ancient Egypt, or Egypt itself, the uraeus sat in the center, which sits on the crown, like it's sitting on the crown I'm showing now. And when you take the crown from Kings Point Boulevard and the crown from Kings Point Parkway, put them together, you have the uraeus with the crown. Now, recently, you had the death of Queen Elizabeth II. And now it went from Prince Charles to King Charles. So here it is on September 8th, 5 months later. She passes away, and now King Charles. And then at that point, you notice that the position of King Charles is sitting in the position of where the Cullinan diamond cut up into 9 pieces, calling it the Star of Africa, going from the Great Star to the Star of Africa, sits. And you'll see on the billboard, Africa in a pyramid. At this very moment while I'm here. Now we're going back 20 years, 26 years of this. Showing you this connection here in Orlando. The kingdom come. What kingdom would that be? The kingdom come in completion, showing you King Charles, the layout, the house that sits in a position of a crown jewel. Who else can show that? At this time? Anywhere. Showing you that the crown itself, you see the way the crown is created. Triangles, pyramid, on a crown point. And if you take a good look at it, you'll see that the pyramids is created 5, 1 in the middle and 2 opposite on each side, creating 5 pyramids or triangles, creating that crown. Showing you the crown is connected to the pyramid, or pyramid is connected to the crown. Just as you see that, the tallest building in Orlando, called the SunTrust Building, or SunTrust Center, 441, which 441 is on the sign, which you see from 1996, or from 1555 to 1996, is 441. That represents a crown. The pyramid's on top. So here's a city that is crowned. Just as the checker pieces moving from one position to the other. And the pieces on the chess piece, the king, the crown itself, is the tallest piece on the board. So here's a place that was created for this to happen. Whereas I can take that sign, which I have, and lay it out over the position of the 3 signs I said it was in Orlando back in 1996, 97. And that sign laid over Orlando creates the map over a map, an overlay, where you see the position where it says, let my people go, Orlando's the promised land, is a place called the Holy Land. On the other side, it says, Aram Osiris on your dollar. That's Universal Studios, where the mummy's at. The position where you see the interlocking triangle, just as you see them going opposite on the sign of Crown Point. That's where the Mall at Millennia is at, in Orlando. All together. Something between time and space. How could somebody put this together and be so connected to it without it being true?